Hello, welcome back. So today we are doing part 3 of Arkham Hot Takes. Now, I can't believe this series has gotten to part 3. I started off doing this as just kind of just to give me a break from scripting. And here we are at part 3, probably with many more parts to come, because you guys seem to love this. And I like reacting to it, because some of your takes are interesting to say the least. That's not to say mine are any good, but I enjoy this series. So, yeah, keep it civil in the comments, because it has been really nice, these last two things, to be able to talk about Arkham and kind of just say whatever and not get killed for it in the comments. So that's nice. But yeah, we are closing in on 5,000 subscribers this year, or at least that's the goal. So hit the subscribe button if you like the content. Obviously, and let's get into it, because it helps me boost in the algorithm, and then I don't have to get a real job, and I can do this forever. So yeah, thank you so much for the support these past couple of weeks, and let's get into it. The first take says, I think that Arkham Knight had a disappointing selection of side missions. Anyone who knows anything about this channel will know why I picked this one. Especially considering the amount of area in the map and the vast number of characters to be used for missions. Don't get me wrong, my favourite missions are in Arkham Knight, but it easily has the worst too, and a bunch are just filler, like all the militia-based missions. Why not include characters like Grundy, a proper Deathstroke mission, Shiva, Prometheus, Anarchy? I don't know, I just feel like there was so much potential and they wasted it. Now, like I said, anyone who knows anything about this channel will know I'm a bit of an Arkham Knight side character master, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. Arkham Knight for me had some of, if not the best side missions in the series. I think there's, off the top of my head, 4. If you made a top 10 Arkham side missions, 4 or 5 of them would come from Arkham Knight. But there's also so many genuinely abysmal ones. So for me, the 4 that are probably in the top 10 somewhere are A Perfect Crime, which is Professor Pig's, In From the Cold, which is Mr. Freeze's, and then you've probably got Beneath the Surface, and I think Gunrunner's probably up there. So there's probably another couple you could go in there with. Especially any out of the Season of Infamy DLC. I think that DLC is really good. I think it adds a lot to the game. But, so yeah, Arkham Knight for me has some of the best side missions in the series, and I think In From the Cold is the best side mission in the series, just flat out it is. So I think, yeah, this take it was started off pretty lukewarm, I think. We started off with a nice little taster. This one for me, yeah, I agree with this one a lot, and as per usual, we'll be rating these out of 10 on agreeability. And then we've got, it easily has the worst too, which it definitely does. Arkham Knight has some truly pathetic side content. So, for example, I'm just thinking, again, off the top of my head here, Firefly's mission was boring. Deacon Blackfire was a combat encounter. Like, you've got some which are so genuinely poor. And the militia content, I don't agree with that. That's just a bunch of filler. I actually quite enjoyed the militia content. Obviously, you've got Own the Roads, Occupy Gotham, and Campaign for Disarmament. And honestly, I really like these 3 side missions. I don't think for me they were supposed to be very story-based. Obviously, they are based in the story. Like, they are a direct offshoot from the main story, in that it is to do with the Arkham Knight and Deathstroke and the militia, and in turn the main story. But I think these were kind of like Arkham's version of, say, like castles in the new Assassin's Creed game, or something along those lines, like something to just kind of serve the Batman immersion of, this is my city, get out sort of thing. And so yeah, I really like these side missions, if I'm being honest. So that has taken this take's agreeability down for me. But then the, quote, like, third part of it says, why not include characters like Grundy, a proper Deathstroke mission, Shiva, Prometheus, and Anarchy? And yeah, I agree with that. I think Arkham Knight had a lot of scope with the characters it used, especially it had some pretty deep cuts, like Professor Pig. Professor Pig wasn't a particularly well-known villain until Arkham Knight, and those who did know about him certainly were surprised to see him in Arkham Knight over someone like Victor Zsasz, who obviously was a reoccurring villain throughout the Arkham series, and I think probably should have been the pick, or at least should have been included in the Season of Infamy DLC. But Professor Pig, because they didn't go with Zsasz, is one of my favourite Batman villains now, and the first time I'd seen him or heard of him was in Batman Arkham Knight, and obviously I was only 10 when that game came out, which is a horrifying thought, but it is nice that they kind of brought a new villain in, and I think Arkham's always been really good at that, bringing these lesser-known villains in, or these, I wouldn't say lesser-known, like, side villains, like, C-tier villains at the time, are now a lot more accepted in mainstream, especially Professor Pig, who's been getting shouts for appearing in the Batman Part 2 and stuff like that, and I think, yeah, Victor Zsasz would have been nice. I think he should have definitely been in the Season of Infamy DLC, because I feel like he's kind of a legacy character. Like, obviously he started in Asylum, he was in City, you kind of need him in Night just to complete the Rocksteady trilogy of Zsasz. But yeah, I think this take definitely goes up and down. I think it is the side mission selection disappointing. I don't know really, because I feel like this says, it has a lot of the worst side missions, but also a lot of the best, and it makes it really hard to talk about because you can't be general with it. You have to be like, right, this one's the best, this one's good, this one's good, this one's good, but these four are awful, like something like that. So I agree with that bit. I don't think the militia missions are filler. I quite enjoy them. They kind of just say, serve that Batman immersion and serve that kind of feeling of protecting the city, and so I quite like them. And then why not include characters like Grundy, Proper Deathstroke Mission, Shiva, Prometheus, and Anarchy? Yeah, 100%. I can't disagree with that at all. I think that's a great take. I think they should have definitely included something like that. Grundy, I'm not sure how Grundy would have worked, but that would have been really cool to see them do. Obviously, we know Clayface was touted to be in the game. That would have been really cool as a side mission. A proper Deathstroke mission, 100%, yeah, because what we got and that boss fight in the tank, still to this day, I imagine even me just uttering those words has made people burst out into a blind rage. Shiva, I've never been a massive fan of Shiva, but that's not what this take's about. I still get what it means. That was just me waffling. Prometheus would have been really cool, I think, especially because obviously his inclusion in the Arkham universe goes back to Asylum, obviously with the character bio and the references to him there. And Anarchy, yeah, that would have been really cool to see. I think it would have worked so well, having Anarchy in Arkham Knight and him being sort of just another, not nuisance, because I guess he's more than a nuisance, but it would have worked within Scarecrow's whole thing of occupying Gotham. So overall, yeah, I agree with most of this take. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 to start off this video with, and let's get on to the next one. The next one is a bit of a divisive one. It says, hot take, the Riddler trophy system is still one of the worst things in gaming. This one for me is quite a hot take, because I personally quite like the Riddler trophies. I've never had a huge issue with them. In fact, like I said, I would go as far to say I enjoy the Riddler trophies. I enjoy collecting them. Whether that's just the lizard part of my brain enjoying neuron activation and task completion, I don't know. But I do really enjoy the Riddler trophies. So I don't straight away agree with this one, but I could see how someone who isn't clinically insane would think this, because I think there's a lot of room for the Riddler trophy system to grow into in future Arkham games, if there are any which include the Riddler trophies. But at the same time, I think they've kind of become a bit iconic now. Like, even as far back as Asylum, like, the don't cut yourself on this sharply observed portrait riddle, that to me has kind of become a part of Arkham Asylum now. Like, I quite look forward to hearing that. I don't know the answers to the portrait of Quincy Sharp, and so I really enjoy that, but I think the Riddler trophies definitely have room to grow. And in future games, what I'd like to see is the Riddler lean much more into riddles. Because I think the Riddler, I think Catwoman says it in Arkham Knight, in one of the final traps, she says something like, "This isn't a riddle, Eddie."
How is that a riddle, Eddie? Seriously.
You get used to it.
And I feel like that's the Riddler's main issue in the Arkham franchise. He spends all this time building these elaborate death traps, and yeah, I really like that, because it kind of gives the Arkham Riddler a bit of edge, but at the same time, he doesn't do many riddles. Like, if you actually look at how many riddles he does compared to how many death traps and trophies he does, there's a huge divide there, and I think the Riddler genuinely is one of the better characters in the Arkham franchise, as annoying as people may find him. I see an issue with it. I think it's a fun way to engage with the world after the credits have rolled, because I think not many people anyway will go after the Riddler before they finish the main story of an Arkham game. Obviously, I think you do it on repeat playthroughs, and now I have, just to do it, or try it and do as much as you can before the credits roll. but I don't think it's a bad system. In fact, I think it's quite simple, and I think that's kind of its virtue, is that it's quite simple. You go to a place, you use gadgets, you beat robots up, whatever, collect the trophy, you get a nice little satisfying bing when you collect it, you get an upgrade point when you've got enough XP. I don't really agree with this one. I quite like it. I'd like to have some elaboration on this, though, because I think there are definitely points to be made in favour of this. So if you're in the comments, tell me why you think the Riddler Trophy system is one of the worst things in gaming, because I am genuinely quite interested, and I might include that if there's a part 4. Because, yeah, I feel like this needs some elaboration. But no, I don't agree with this one. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10. Maybe a 3. We'll give it a 3 out of 10. We'll be harsh. Because I don't really agree with this one. Again, but I can see where you could be coming from with that. The next take says, hot take, the Robin in Batgirl's DLC in Arkham Knight, A Matter of Family, should have been either Dick Grayson or Jason Todd. Probably more so Jason Todd, because it doesn't make sense timeline-wise for Tim to be Robin in that story. Given if you consider the comic tie-ins canon, Jason escaped Arkham Asylum during Joker's riot in the first game, and he said he was captured for over a year. I really like this one, because I don't think it's a particularly hot take. In fact, I think it's a very agreeable take, but not many people will have thought about it, and that's why I've included it. So I think, yeah, you are totally right. Timeline-wise, it does not make sense for Tim to be Robin in the story. It should have been, like you said, Dick or Jason, and probably, again, like you said, should have been Jason. And I feel like the only reason, or the only excuse Rocksteady, or I believe it was WB Montreal who worked on the Matter of Family DLC. I will fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure it was the same people who made Arkham Origins. But overall, yeah, this take is obviously really agreeable. The only excuse they would have had for not including Jason is continuity, and like in the worst way, because it doesn't fit the continuity. But again, this all comes down to if you consider the tie-in comics canon, and I feel like to a certain degree you have to. I'm always a bit cautious on whether to consider them canon, because there's a lot of elements of them that I like, and a lot of elements that I'm like, oh, why have you done that? But if we consider it canon just for the sake of this take, the only reason they would have put Tim in instead of Jason is because everyone knows Tim as Robin in the Arkham universe. Like, he's the only one we see in a main story as Robin, which I think kind of leans into the whole... It's a bit like when studios start doing multiverse films, people are like, oh, well, we can't have 3 Batmans on screen. The longer people have got used to it, the more people have accepted the fact, yeah, you can have 3 Batmans on screen or whatever. And so I think people have come around to the fact that, oh yeah, okay, Jason is the Arkham Knight, Robin is Tim Drake. And so I think people kind of became a bit stubborn to that, and that's why they kept him in. Like I say, I really agree with this take. This isn't particularly a hot take, so I'll give it a 10 out of 10 for agreeability. But yeah, it was just something I genuinely thought was really cool, because I haven't seen many people mention that and say it is true. The next take is, people only say Arkham City is the best / has the best story because of Joker's death. If Joker didn't die, then City may not be widely considered the best in the series. Don't get me wrong, it was brilliant, but it seems like that's all people talk about when they say why the game is perfect. This one, for me, I agree with this to a certain extent, but also don't agree in another sense, because I feel like if anyone says to you, I think City has the best story because Joker dies, they either haven't played the game or just don't understand the whole thing around Joker dying, because for me that isn't what makes the story. I feel like Arkham City story has flaws, as they all do. All the Arkham stories have flaws. I don't think it's a perfect story. But Arkham City's big flaw for me is the gameplay side of it. And I think there are definitely cases to be made that the actual story itself isn't great, but it probably is in the upper echelon of Arkham stories. And I feel like that's not because the Joker dies. I feel like the Joker dying is a byproduct of the story being good. So in a way, I do kind of agree with this guy. Like, yeah, if anyone says it's the best because Joker died, I feel like they kind of missed the point of the story. It's a really weird reason to say it's the best in the series. I feel like it was a really ballsy move. Like, the older I've gotten, the more I kind of play and engage with Arkham City as the years go by, the more I've realised, like, oh my god, that was like... how old was I when Arkham City came out? It came out in 2011, right? So I was 6 when Arkham City came out, so I wasn't really aware of, like, the gravitas of that situation. So obviously when I played it for the first time, I was like 6 or 7, like, kind of being carried through on easy mode. I didn't really understand it. Like, I was like, oh, Joker's dead. Because I just thought, oh well, never mind. But then the more you look at it, you're like, the second game, following on from Arkham Asylum, which at that point was the biggest superhero game of all time, or at least the best, they kill the Joker off. Like, that's a huge, huge move. And I feel like it is a really good point in favour of Arkham City's story. But I don't think it's the reason. I think Arkham City story has a lot of cool ideas in it, and I don't think Joker being killed off is the one that makes it what some people would consider the best in the series. And obviously the person says, don't get me wrong, it's brilliant, but it seems like that's all people talk about. I don't really agree with that. There's a lot of diehard Arkham City fans who watch the channel and are in the comments a lot. I haven't heard any of them go, oh yeah, it's the best because Joker dies. Again, this take, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. It's definitely a point in the game's story's favour, but I feel like it's more of an exclamation point at the end of a great story, rather than the reason people say it's good. Overall, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10, because I agree with half of it, but don't agree with the other half, so it gets a 5 out of 10. Next up we have a pretty long one. It says, hot take, Rocksteady should leave the series alone now. I've heard rumours that they're working on a new Arkham game, and 5 years ago that would have had me unbelievably excited. But after Suicide Squad, I just don't care. It's not because Suicide Squad was live service, because obviously that wasn't Rocksteady's choice, but the writing, lack of direction, and the lack of self-awareness of Rocksteady shown in Suicide Squad makes me feel that Rocksteady are the developers of Arkham in name alone. Most of, if not all of the key figures in the Arkham series are long gone, and I don't trust them to make something worthy of the Arkham name anymore. So I feel like there's two sides to this. You've got the casual fan, and you've got us watching this and making this video. I think the casual Arkham fan will go, yes, new Arkham game, great, you know, all aboard the Arkham train. I feel like the other side of it is people who maybe are slightly jaded from Suicide Squad, like, say, I'd imagine many people watching this video, because that was kind of an insult to the series. It was gross. But, like, I feel like if they are working on a new Arkham game, that is exciting, but I don't feel like it's particularly as exciting as it would have been, even post-Arkham Shadow, because I feel like now we've seen how great Arkham Shadow was. It's going to take a lot for Rocksteady to replicate that, or not replicate, but live up to that potential after Suicide Squad. Because obviously you've got Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill are both gone, they're not with Rocksteady anymore, and they were kind of, obviously they weren't the only people solely responsible for the greatness of the Arkham trilogy, or quadrilogy I suppose, but now they're gone, it kind of does feel like Rocksteady's in a new era. And I don't think it's an era many of us are going to enjoy, because if Suicide Squad's anything to go by, I'm not sure. But what does give me hope is that, one, like this person says, the live service road wasn't their choice. I imagine they were probably told by Warner Brothers, make a live service game, because they're still good, 5 years ago, and obviously live service games are not still good. But then on the other side, I look at the good parts of Suicide Squad. I think about the gameplay, which is quite fun. Graphically, the game wasn't bad. It wasn't Arkham Knight, which is really weird because those games were released like 8-9 years apart, but it was still good. The animations were really fluid and really fun. And so I look at those parts of Suicide Squad, and it gives me a bit of hope that there is still some life within Rocksteady, and there are still really driven, talented developers there who are passionate about the Batman Arkham universe. Because I feel like that's another thing we have to look at. The original team who worked on Arkham Asylum were clear. I mean, you can just tell, just playing the game, like even before you look into any backstage stuff, they were so passionate about that world. And you even look at something stupid like the character bios. You've got character bios of characters who, let's be honest here, no one knew, or very few people did. Like, they were pretty deep cuts, and even something like that, you can tell there was passion there. Arkham City just ramped that up. Night, although it had its flaws, was clearly supposed to be Arkham's swan song, and so I feel like there are, or I'd like to think there are still people who work at Rocksteady who really care about the series, but I feel like those people, or most of them who were there, are either long gone or don't have the creative power that we'd probably like them to have. So, yeah, should Rocksteady leave the series alone? I'm not entirely sure, because I personally want to give Rocksteady another chance. I think they've banked enough credit with Asylum City and Night to earn that chance. I feel like for every awful game, you have to look at what they've done in the past. And I feel like those 3 games alone, I feel like they've got enough credit in the bank to give it another go. And then after that, if they release another Arkham game and it's bad, yeah, they'd be on really thin ice at that point. At that point, you are probably having discussions of, right, leave the series alone. This is getting kind of sad to watch now. But I feel like at the moment, I don't want them to leave the series alone. I want one more. I just want to see what they can still do when given the reins to do what they want to do. Because again, Suicide Squad, I imagine that wasn't totally their doing. I would hate to... I just don't see what... It was too much of a 180 from driven, story-focused, single-player content to online live service game where the offline mode only came in the final update because the game was dying. Like, to me, that's too big of a jump for it to be the studio's choice. So, yeah, this take has a lot of layers to it, and you could probably talk about this all day. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should Rocksteady leave the series alone now, or do you think they've got enough credit to at least have one more go before we shut the doors on Rocksteady and let perhaps Camouflage or WB Montreal or someone like that take over? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to give this take a 6 out of 10 because I think there's some merit to it. I can see 100% why someone would say this, because I get it, but I just personally feel like they deserve one more chance. Next up, we have, this one's a pretty short one. I believe Roger Craig Smith will become the new Kevin Conroy in the future. And then this person's put, in my opinion, and Kevin Conroy will always be number 1. Yeah, Kevin Conroy will always be number 1. He's Batman. But I believe Roger Craig Smith will become the new Kevin Conroy is really interesting. Because I feel like we did something on the last video about how, or in the last Hot Takes video, talking about if Roger Craig Smith will ever be better than Kevin Conroy, or if he already is. I feel like this one has some merit to it. But I don't want to think that he'd become the new Kevin Conroy, because I think Kevin Conroy brought something to the Batman character which is so different and so iconic and so Kevin Conroy, I suppose, that someone like Roger Craig Smith wouldn't be able to replicate that. Because I feel like Roger Craig Smith is a completely different Batman, and that's not a bad thing. Like, Kevin Conroy's Batman, you could easily convince someone who doesn't know anything about Batman that all of Kevin Conroy's Batmen were all in the same universe, like Arkham, the animated series, JLA, like, you could do that because his Batman was so distinct. And I guess that could also be used against him. Oh, he just played the same Batman every time. But I feel like it was so distinct and so iconic that there was no point trying to change things up. So I'd like to think that Kevin Conroy will stay alone in sort of his own part of Batman's history. Because I think he will. I don't think anyone's going to try and say Kevin Conroy's suddenly the worst Batman ever. But I'd like to think most fans would have the respect to be like, no, Kevin Conroy did what he did for the character. It was amazing. But even if it's time to move on from him or his portrayal as Batman, I don't want to think that anyone can be the new Kevin Conroy. I'd like to think Roger Craig Smith will become the best Roger Craig Smith, and I think he will. I think especially in the games now, I feel like as the more Arkham games come out, I'd imagine if Batman's in them, he'll be the voice they go with. I think at some point we are going, if they release, because obviously Roger Craig Smith has had 2 games now, or 3? 2? Again, I'll fact check that, 2 or 3. I can't remember whether he voiced him in Blackgate or not. I can't remember. Anyway, Roger Craig Smith will reach a point within the next decade where he has had more Arkham portrayals than Kevin Conroy. And then you start looking at it as, right, is Roger Craig Smith now the Arkham Batman? And that's an entirely different discussion. I don't think there's really a discussion there, because for me, Kevin Conroy is Arkham Batman. Like, he started it, that's his thing. And Roger Craig Smith for me plays a different Batman entirely. He plays a younger, sort of more emotional Batman. I said all this in the last video, so I'm not going to go all over that. If you want to hear my opinion on Roger Craig Smith and Kevin Conroy, go watch that. But after this video, please keep the watch time up. So I think Roger Craig Smith, I'd like to think, yeah, he can become a good Batman, even stand alongside Kevin Conroy, but I don't want him to become the new Kevin Conroy. And I think that might be what this person meant. Like, obviously, no one wants to replace Kevin Conroy. Like, that's a huge task to try and live up to, because you're replacing the greatest ever to do it. Like, I think Kevin Conroy, I think it's pretty well renowned that he is the best Batman ever, the best single Batman ever, like when you look at live action or voicing or whatever. But I'd like to think, and I'd like to really hope, that Roger Craig Smith can get to that level. So in 20 years' time, we can look back and go, God, that Roger Craig Smith was really good. Like, yeah, I feel like you could have a genuine discussion whether he's on the level of Kevin Conroy. But yeah, I like this take. I do like this take. I think it's a weird one because it just depends what you see Roger Craig Smith's ceiling as. I personally don't think he could play a Batman after Arkham Knight, because I feel like after Arkham Knight you would have to have Kevin Conroy, because that's what he sounds like. But then could you do like a full circle thing? Could he play a really cool older Batman? Like a much older Batman? Like I'm talking like Dark Knight Returns Batman, rather than Justice League Justice League Kill the Suicide Squad. That's what the game should have been. But no, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League Batman, where he's older, but he's not old. He's like 50-ish. Could we see Roger Craig Smith complete that circle and play a 70-year-old Batman who is the guy in the chair? It's a really interesting discussion. I'm going to give this take, for agreeability, for just what this take says with no added context, I'm going to give it a 3. Like, I'm going to be really harsh. I'm going to give it a 3 because I don't want Roger Craig Smith to become the new Kevin Conroy. For what I think this person meant, and if you did mean what I'm saying you meant, tell me in the comments. If you didn't, and I am just speaking on your behalf here, tell me to shut up because I could be wrong. I'm going to give it a 10 in that I believe Roger Craig Smith will become on par with Kevin Conroy in the Arkhamverse at least. I don't think overall, because I think, again, Kevin did, God, so much Batman material to the point where I don't think anyone will ever do that again. But, yeah, I think this take, 3 out of 10 for I think he'll become the new Kevin Conroy, 10 out of 10 for I'd like to hope he can become on the level of Kevin Conroy and become just as iconic. The next take isn't a hot take at all. I just thought it was really funny, and it's not something I've seen many people mention, which I'm surprised about, because it's like one of the most glaringly obvious problems with Arkham Origins. This person just says, I'm not sure if this counts as a hot take, but I would say that I think Arkham Origins has really bad face animations. It does. God, it really does. It freaks me out. It gets into Uncanny Valley. Alfred especially, in non-pre-rendered cutscenes, because the pre-rendered cutscenes of Origins look amazing. Like, they're so... I love them. They're my favourite cutscenes in all the Arkham games. But when the characters are just talking, it's so weird. Especially when, like, Batman and Alfred are talking in the Batcave. It's only their lips moving. And it is so uncanny. Like, the rest of their face is completely still. And then sometimes their eyebrows will go up and then back down. It's so creepy. I'm so glad someone's mentioned this. Genuinely, Alfred speaking outside of a pre-rendered cutscene is burned into my frontal lobe as a sleep paralysis demon. It's genuinely terrifying. The next take is another long one. So this person actually commented this across 2 videos, and I really wanted to include it in the first one I think this person commented on. But again, it just didn't make it in because I don't want to make these videos like 2 hours long. I like to keep them about an hour to 40 minutes-ish. And this one requires a bit of discussion. But it basically says... commented something related to this on your last video, but this time my hot take is more broad. So this is actually a more in-depth version of the original comment. The tie-in materials are slept on and more Arkham fans need to hear about them. So many people just dismiss them and say that they're not canon just because of a few small errors and the fact they're not the games. The Assault on Arkham movie, What Killed the Justice League Should Have Been, the Riddler's Gambit novel and comics like the Arkham Origins prequel, Road to Arkham, and the Batman Arkham City 5-issue miniseries Arkham City Endgame and Arkham Knight Genesis all make playing the games even more fun because of the lore they add. There are one or two continuity errors with the city story from the games, but they can be easily explained, and in my opinion, Arkham Knight Genesis is actually better than the canon version of Jason's Origins. How much do you agree with me on this? Well, that was a lot of words for starters, but thank you for the take. I would agree. Okay, right. I'm going to just lay out some ground basis here. I haven't read a huge amount of Arkham tie-in stuff. I've seen Assault on Arkham. I've read the first bit of the Riddler's Gambit because I found it in a bookshop once and literally stood there and read the first, 20 pages. Road to Arkham, I think I actually have a copy of it, or... No, sorry, I lied. I have an Arkham City, a copy of something... Was it Arkham Unleashed, I believe it was called, something like that. And then and then Arkham Knight Genesis, I've read. So, I do have some knowledge, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be like a professor of Arkham tie-in material. I think the part of this take that says more people need to hear about it is really... Yeah, I agree, 100%. I think a lot of people kind of do just go... I'm not reading that, it's not canon. Someone on YouTube said it's not canon, but I feel like people need to kind of open their minds up and be like, okay, it might not be canon, but it's still Arkham Batman, it's still Arkham content, and everyone wants more Arkham content. And the amount of comics and games and, say, great novels, the Riddler's Gambit I hear is really good, and from the 5 pages I read in Manchester Waterstones, I have it on good authority, it's really good. Assault on Arkham, I didn't think it was great, but it was fun. It was a fun movie to watch. I was sat there with a bag of crisps going, yeah, this is cool. Arkham Knight Genesis is really cool, and I think this person says, yeah, Arkham Knight Genesis is actually better than the canon version of Jason's Origin. Yeah, I kind of agree. I really do like it. I think it's really cool. And something like the torture scene, it's got the bit of art where it's the mask and the torture. I think that's really cool. But yeah, I would agree with this pretty heavily that most people need, or Arkham fans at least, need to look into these, because I feel like there's a really cool thing. I actually have something on the way next month which does tie into this. It's the Arkham City Omnibus, or the Arkham Omnibus, I can't remember which it is, but it's basically just a giant book full of the Arkham tie-in materials, and I'm really excited to get that, I'm smiling talking about it. I've wanted it for so long, and I'm going to get it, so that's really cool. I'm really excited for that. But yeah, I agree with this 100%. I feel like although I'm probably not the best person to speak on Arkham tie-in stuff, because I haven't read it all, I'm not going to pretend to have read it all, I'm not going to try and bullshit and go, yeah, I liked that bit in Arkham City Endgame where, oh god, sorry guys, I forgot what it says in Arkham City Endgame because I read it so long ago. No, I haven't read it, I don't know. But I feel like a lot more people need to know about them, so if you don't know about them, go get it. Go read some Arkham Time material, because most of it is pretty good. And if you suspend your disbelief and the canonicity and just kind of read them as, even if you read them as separate Batman material, just completely forget their Arkham, they are quite good. Again, the stuff I've read, I haven't come away from any of it thinking, God, that was bad. Most of it's pretty good. So I'm going to agree with this guy 100%. This is an endorsement from your favourite Arkham YouTuber's least watched Arkham YouTuber. Go and read the Arkham Time material. Even if you just read it as Batman comic, or even if you read it as a Batman novel, just go read some of it, because some of it's really good stuff. And as I say, especially Arkham Knight Genesis, that was what got me into the Arkham tie-in stuff initially. Go and read that, because that's really good, and it definitely makes Arkham Knight a better game, which I know a lot of you would like Arkham Knight to be a better game. I mean, we'd all like Arkham Knight to be a better game. But yeah, go read it. It's cool. 10 out of 10. Moving on. This one just says, hot take, I find the Ra's al Ghul fight to be overrated. Yep, that's all I'm saying. Yep, it's good. It's a good take. I like it. It is. I hate the Ra's al Ghul fight. With a passion, I hate the Ra's al Ghul fight. I think it's one of the most annoying boss fights in the series. It's a hill I'm going to die on. It doesn't have any basis to it. I can't explain to you why exactly I think it's annoying. I just don't like it. It just gets on my nerves. I think what annoys me with it is how much people love it. God, that sounds really nihilistic, doesn't it, or whatever. That's sort of oh, I hate this thing because people like it. No, when people talk about the best Arkham boss fights, that gets thrown in there, and I'm like, no. Personally, for me, it just annoys me. And I think I mentioned this in another video, I can't remember which one. And I had to explain this in the comments, so I'm going to try and do my best to explain it properly here. The Ra's al Ghul boss fight got watered down for me after I played Deathstroke's fight in Origins, because Deathstroke's fight took the best parts of Ra's al Ghul's fight and made them cooler. And apart from the fact Ra's has never been a character I've particularly cared for, I don't know why. Like, again, it's another thing I just can't explain. He's just never really grabbed me as a character too much. I like him. Like, when he shows up, I'm like, oh, cool, Ra's al Ghul's there. But he's never really been a massive character for me. Like, he's not in my top 10 Batman villains by far. Like, he's probably closer to the 20th spot than he is the 10th. I just don't really enjoy him as a character. But yeah, so I think after playing Deathstroke's fight and doing the button mash Y, I ain't gonna sugarcoat this Y button mashing thing, that's a niche cut, I think this fight just got watered down for me, honestly. It's not my favourite. It's probably my least favourite of the city boss fights. Actually, no, that's Two-Face in the Catwoman segment. It's my second least favourite of the city boss fight. Really not a big fan of it. And yeah, I'm going to agree with this 10 out of 10. Let me know what you think of the Ra's al Ghul boss fight, because I know it's a pretty divisive one. Like, I've seen some people in comments be like, yeah, I understand this fight sucks. And other people be like, how do you hate this fight? It's great. I actually do really like, just to add a bit of context to this, I really like the demon trials. I know they make no sense, and they've always really irked me how the demon trials is a gliding challenge. Like, how does Batman being able to glide prove that he's gonna be a good leader of the demon? It's never made sense to me, and when the Arkham City rewrite comes out, hint hint, that's going. But yeah, 10 out of 10. Love this take. It is. It's overrated. It sucks. Anyway, next fight. This one, obviously, this one for me, really close to my heart. Hot take. Killer Croc's boss fight in Asylum has got to be the best fight in the entire series. The atmosphere, the way the whole idea of the game, you being the predator hunting down all the criminals, is flipped on its head, and then you become the hunted. It's basically a short horror game segment. It's amazing. And I firmly believe if you play it hard mode, no repeat playthroughs will be uninteresting. Croc pops up so often, and sometimes he's very difficult to find, so it becomes a rush to find him in time. It's perfection. Now, Killer Croc bias aside, I really like this take. I don't think it's the best fight in the series, because I don't like to consider Killer Croc's section a fight, because it's not. Like, Batman and Killer Croc never come into direct contact, and if they do, Killer Croc wins. So that's not a fight. I know it is technically a boss fight, and I'm not trying to like harp on you for calling it a boss fight here. Like, that sounded really bitchy, didn't it? It's not a fight, you're wrong. But I agree with this, that it's probably one of the best segments in the series, because again, Killer Croc bias aside, I think it is. I really, as much as I hate it, I love it. Like, I hate thinking, oh god, I've got to do Killer Croc's bit next, because it scares me. Like, I'm a 20-year-old man, and it scares me. The Killer Croc segment genuinely makes me go, oh no. Because, like, when the music ramps up and he runs at you and you've got to hit the Batarang, and sometimes the Batarang, like, if you try and quickfire it, sometimes Batman will just throw it at a wall and then you'll die, and there's so many elements to it which just make it so cool. So yeah, I agree with it. I don't think it's the best fight in the series, because again, I don't really think it's a fight. Like, again, tell me what you think. Is Killer Croc a fight? Because the only times they come into direct contact, Killer Croc kills you. Like, he murders Batman. There is no fighting. Batman doesn't get a punch in, Killer Croc runs up to you, rugby tackles you into the water, and then feasts on your bones. Wouldn't say that's a fight. So let me know what your parameters for boss fights are in the comments, but that aside, this is a 10 out of 10 take. I really enjoy this. I think it's one of the best bits in the series. I think the fact it completely, like, 180 degrees, is that? Yeah, that's half a 360. I'm not very good at maths. Flips the whole thing on its head, and then you become the hunted, and you become the one with the fear and the like, the heart rate BPM thing going up. Obviously, when Batman's in detective mode, the thugs have that, and then you kind of have like a visual of that. It's really cool. I really like the fact that you become... You become almost like the stupid thug wandering about going, oh, it's the freaking bat. Like, you become that, and I just think that's so cool. And it fits so well as well with Asylum's feeling and its aura. I hate using the word aura, but I don't know how else to describe it. Like, it is so cool. It is probably my favourite part of the series. And then the person says if you play it on hard mode, no repeat playthroughs will be uninteresting. Again, I agree, because Croc pops up so randomly on hard mode and so many times, you don't know where he's coming from. There's very, very, very few times when, even now after playing through Arkham Asylum, maybe 3 times a year every year since I was like 6 or 7, there's never been a time when I've got out of Killer Croc's lair unscathed. Like, it's really cool. I really enjoy it. Yeah, 10 out of 10 take. Let me know again though what you think a boss fight is in the comments, because that's just another discussion I just think is kind of interesting. But yeah, 10 out of 10. Love this one. The next one is actually from Lex Luthor himself. Guys, we have Lex Luthor in the comment section. He says that my hot take is that Batman should have sold his applied sciences division for $1 billion. So true, Lex. 100% agree. Yeah, Bruce Wayne, he's a mysterious guy, right? I think he's intentionally dodging your calls, because a guy like him doesn't need an applied sciences division, does he? He needs another $1 billion. So I think it's actually quite rude of him. This isn't a hot take. This isn't a hot take. I think we could all agree Bruce Wayne's an ignorant guy, and he should have sold his applied sciences division to Lex Luthor, because like we said, he doesn't need it. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Lex, for leaving the comment. Any more Lex Luthor comments will be greatly appreciated. I'm glad to have such an esteemed figure of moral guidance in the comment section. That's a huge honour for me. Moving on to the final take. The top 5 DC video games are... Okay, limber up, everyone stretch. 1, Batman Arkham Knight. 2, Batman Arkham Origins. 3, Batman Arkham City. 4, Lego DC Supervillains. 5, Lego Batman 2. Arkham Asylum is very good and set the way for the rest of the Arkham games, but it doesn't really hold up anymore. The mechanics are super clunky once you've played the later Arkham games. This is an interesting one, isn't it? I feel like this is a bit of a two-parter. We've got the Arkham Asylum bit and we've got the list of the top 5 DC video games. I really like the inclusion of Lego DC Supervillains on here, because I love that game so much. Like, I think it's the best Lego game ever after Lego Batman 1. I think Lego Batman 1 for me is the best, just because of the whole feeling around that game and probably a lot of childhood nostalgia. But Lego DC Supervillains is just so cool. And even recently, I bought another copy of it, because I had a copy of it, played through it. I don't think 100%ed it, but I got pretty close. Got rid of it when I sold all my Xbox games, because I was getting a Series S at the time, like a few years back. And then I got a Series X, so I was like, oh, I need all my discs back. So I kept the Arkham series, though, guys, don't worry. All my original Arkham series and Lego Batman copy stayed on my Batman shelf, with the thousands of pounds worth of figures I've got, which is, make of that what you will. It's not an obsession, it's a lifestyle. No, but Lego DC Supervillains, great game. Lego Batman 2, pretty good game. I like Lego Batman 2. Never really connected with me as much as the first one, but it's alright. And then your Arkham list is here, obviously, Knight, Origins, City, Asylum. Yeah, pretty valid. So yeah, I agree. I don't think they're the top 5 in that order, because for me, I would probably go pretty similar to this guy, but I don't think Lego Batman 2 would be in that. I think I would have to put Asylum there, just for what it did. Probably not for gameplay, because yeah, Arkham Asylum on repeat playthroughs in 2025. It's a bit rough at times, but I don't think it's bad. And then the second part of this is Arkham Asylum is very good and set the way for the rest of the Arkham games, but it doesn't really hold up anymore. The mechanics are super clunky once you played the later games. Again, yeah, this is pretty valid. Like, I don't think most people would agree with this. Arkham Asylum, I feel like if you play it for the mechanics, you're playing it for the wrong reason. This person hasn't said they're playing it for the mechanics, by the way. This is just me throwing out my bile of thought. That was a disgusting phrase. I think Arkham Asylum is a game you play for the atmosphere and the feeling of the game rather than the mechanical side of it, because mechanically, even the Return to Arkham remaster, which obviously came out, what, 7 years, I believe? 8 years, whatever, after the original game, it doesn't hold up. Like, Arkham Asylum mechanically is now, like, with the pleasure of hindsight and the ability to look back at it with all the other Arkham games, you play it and it's like, oh, wow, wow, you can't really do combos in it. It's very hard to keep a good combo going because there's that limited amount of options. There's no quickfire gadgets, there's no sliding. It does feel really slow to play, but I feel like that kind of works in its favour because Arkham Asylum is supposed to feel that way. Like, if you had Arkham Knight Batman in Arkham Asylum, the game would have been over in 8 seconds when Batman backclaw slammed Joker off that Titan crate at the start. Like, obviously, he wouldn't have actually done that, but yeah. I feel like that's pretty true. Arkham Asylum, mechanically at least, doesn't really hold up anymore. I feel like it still does, like it's playable. It's more than playable. Like, it feels great to play at times, like especially if you can get a good combo going, if you can keep it going, it feels great to play. But once you have played the later games, yeah, it can come across as super clunky. I'll give that one an 8 out of 10. And the list of top 5 DC games, because I'm kind of counting these as 2 separate takes. I know they are within the same realms. The list, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10, 7? 6 or 7, somewhere around there. Whatever I decide to put on screen in 3, 2, 1. Now, that's what I give it. That score is the definitive score. Again, LEGO DC Supervillains, such a fun game. If you haven't played it, again, I implore you to go play that game. City, Origins, and Night in that order, pretty valid. I'd probably swap City and Origins for... Ooh, would I? Ooh, I don't know. We're not going to get into this. This video is nearly an hour long. But yeah, they were all of the takes from the last video. If you've got any hot takes you would like to leave them. Obviously, you guys really, really enjoy this series, and say I enjoy making them. It's kind of like a nice way to chill, because I spend a lot of time just scripting, and I hate scripting. Like, why, I know I'm complaining that I have to write about Batman. I hate scripting. So, this is kind of a nice way to take a break from scripting and just chill out and talk about some Batman, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here to do, isn't it? We're all here to sit and talk about the Arkham games and Batman, because we all love it, and again, that's why we're all here. I also hope you guys appreciate the new profile picture and banner, because after putting a poll out on the community post, I realised, wait, I make Arkham videos and I have a Spider-Man profile picture. It's a really good picture. I took it when I was playing Spider-Man 2 on the PS5, and I was like, wow, that's a great picture. But it's a Spider-Man picture, and I do make Arkham videos, so I thought, you know what, time for a change. Funnily enough, it's actually a picture from an Arkham Knight prequel comic, would you believe? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Go and watch the Batman Arkham Asylum cut content rewrite. It's really good. I think it's really good anyway. It's what it sounds like. It's a cut content rewrite. It's Arkham Asylum with the cut content button. And an official announcement from Charles Cardy HQ. We are doing the full series. I know a lot of you guys, like, an overwhelming amount, like, I can't thank you enough for this. A lot of you guys were like, wow, this is really good. I really want the Arkham City one. This is to announce right now we are doing the rest of the series. We're going to do City next, then we're going to do Night, then we're going to do Origins, then maybe Shadow. I'm not sure on Shadow yet. It'll depend on how the Origins rewrite goes, because that one's going to be quite tough, because Origins story is pretty watertight, but I can think of a pretty cool couple of changes to make in there. Then we're going to do one of my own. I'm going to try and write an Arkham game from the ground up after Batman, or that takes place after Arkham Knight. And then we're going to do Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and actually make that a semi-competent story. It's going to be a tough task, but I'm sure we'll do it. So yeah, official announcement over this year. That's going to be the goal, to have by the end of this year rewritten the entire Arkham series with cut content put in, and a few of my own ideas, because I'd like to think I have some good ideas. But yeah, you guys really enjoyed the Arkham Asylum one, and say I'm so thankful for that. I was genuinely really nervous about uploading that video, because I was a bit like, oh, I don't know if people are going to enjoy it. Like, I know a lot of my ideas were very Serious House and Serious Earthy, and I'm not sure, I was genuinely nervous about uploading that video. I'm not going to shy away from it. I was like, oh, I didn't want to wake up the next morning and have like 12,000 dislikes and 27 comments telling me to go jump off a bridge. But yeah, you guys really loved that, and say I'm so grateful for that. That's genuinely insane. The reception of that video has been insane. So thank you for that. But yeah, the whole series is coming. The Cardiverse is in full effect, and it is not getting cut. We are not being Zack Snyder. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. It means the world. Leave any more hot takes you have for a part 4. Can't believe I'm saying that, part 4, in the comments down below. Make them spicy, even if you don't believe in them. No, do believe in them. Don't spout lies. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.